Hello and welcome to the Last Word on Spurs. We are your multi-award winning Tottenham Hotspur podcast and we return as we are staying up. Say, we are staying up. What a basket case of a football club. If you're to the first time, you can find us on iTunes or on Spotify. We're across all major audio platforms. We're of course on X, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook too, and Blue Sky. We're bringing you another top tier panel on Last Word on Spurs as we review back-to-back wins in all comps for Ange Postecoglou's Tottenham. We'll see where that leaves us in terms of the Premier League. We'll be discussing where we are with less than 24 hours remaining by the time this show closes of the transfer window. Do Spurs need to do more? I can say there's three heads nodding yes here, certainly, and more to come. Joining me on this Last Word on Spurs, I'm joined by relocated in Florida for 2 nights only. The wonderful TJ Ramini is back in the hot seat and still looking as sharp as ever, as is the wonderful Miles at the Spurs Kings, back fresh from the G-Tech, bringing the 3 points back with him, and also back on the show. Listen, one of my great friends, the wonderful Adam Osper, back where I can promise you on this show, for those that ask me, you're going to get a response from ads. I can't believe I'm going to say this. He doesn't want me to say it. We may get a response less than 5 seconds after I've asked the question. Right, let's talk you through very quickly the match facts and the stats from Tottenham getting over the line at the G-Tech. It finished Brentford 0, Tottenham Hotspur 2, 20 shots from Brentford to Tottenham's 13, 4 shots for Brentford on target to Tottenham's 2, 48 touches in Brentford's box for Tottenham to 21 respectively. Brentford edging us on the accuracy of passing, 385 to 352. Total tackles, 24 for Brentford, 22 for Tottenham. Interceptions, Tottenham edging away 4-9. Clearances, Spurs, 50 of those on the day to Brentford's 11. And percentage-wise, possession-wise, 54% to Brentford to 46% for Tottenham. And the XG, 2.40 for Brentford to 0.96 for Tottenham, where, to be honest with you, it was a bit of a difference in the way we approached the game. Not so much Ange ball. Many would argue it was more Mourinho and Conte ball, but it's actually quite nice to see and maybe some refreshing the fact that there wasn't an emphasis in terms of the way we played. I think at this stage of where we are, it's all about getting the result. And where that result leaves us in terms of the Premier League table, we're up to those dizzying heights, those absolute dizzying heights of 14th. Everybody keep calm. 14th in the Premier League. Tottenham are where they are at the moment. Let's bring in our wonderful crew that are assembling as the Avengers. We'll go to Tej to start this show. Tej, lovely to see you. You're looking fresh. You're looking beautiful. Spurs do win a league game for the first time since December the 15th with a 2-0 victory over Brentford. An own goal from Janelt and a slick finish from Sarr ensure Spurs do take the 3 points back to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It's actually the first ever win at Brentford since they got promoted. A battling, gritty win, clean sheet. I think it's 4 in the last 8 now, and a few really good performances in there to match. Tej, give me your thoughts on that win over Brentford at the G-Tech.
Oh, mate, I absolutely loved it. I just loved it. Like you said, perhaps not immediately recognisable as the brand of football that we've been playing of late. But then, of course, when we do play the same brand of football and it doesn't work, we hear about there's no flexibility and tactics won't change and things like that. And as you mentioned, I'm away from home at the moment. I'm in Naples, in Florida. And so I had to wake up very early this morning and find a sports bar where I could go and watch the game. Absolutely beautiful. It was right on the water. So the whole morning this morning for me was just an absolute delight. And again, so, the own goal, I mean, that's another Olympico if that doesn't hit Janelt. Sonny scored from a corner, when was it, 3 weeks ago or something. And the whip on that, the pace on that, the height on that, I mean, it's just impossible to defend. I was so pleased to see that go in because he has been having a bit of a torrid time this season. But what a joy it is to be back on this program that we love, to discuss a league win away from home at a very tough stadium to go to. Marlon was there today. I will let him wax lyrical about what that was like. But it's just so happy to be on here with all the viewers and listeners. And so we can celebrate a win and the manner of the win and the grittiness and the resolve and the toughness. And of course, I mean, listen, we'll devote a large portion, I'm sure, of this to Jed Spence. But so happy to be back on the show, man. Lovely panel, lovely show. Good evening, everybody. Nice to see you.
Pleasure, T. Thank you so much. Marl's going to come round to you. You have pocketed the 3 points for us and brought them back from the G-Tech. And it's amazing when I say this, Tottenham are the only team out there, for those that are unaware, to have faced Brentford 4 times away from home and not lost. Yes, for once we're breaking quite a nice record, not a wrong record. You know, I think many would argue they've not seen us win as ugly as that, dare I say, maybe since the Conte Mourinho days. And can I just say, I think it's a bit of a welcome trait, apart from Jason McGovern, who I might just add, that Spurs have not had that for the last 18 months. A real gritty, determined performance. Miles, you were there. What were your takeaways from it? I'm sure you're delighted to come away from the G-Tech with 3 points.
No, of course. But first of all, I just want to shout out to Ben and Sim. I don't know if people know this, but to send my condolences out to them. They lost their granddad this weekend, and I haven't been able to say it publicly until they came out of it today. So big up to them. That's why they've been away from We Are Tottenham TV. However, so today, let's get into today. So for that first 20 minutes, I went with my missus, and she sat there and said to me,
"Can I say, Mark, this is the new idea of dating. Just to be very, very clear. You've got kids now. You've got kids out there. Yeah. I mean, I don't think I can convince mine to go away from home with me to watching Tottenham even at home. But I mean, how does that work? That's amazing itself. You've done that.
Well, Ricky, for the first 20 minutes of that game, she sat there and looked at me and said, "Is this what you're doing every week, watching this lot instead of spending time with the kids?" And I went, "To be fair, babe, it's not. We've actually been quite good today. We haven't conceded. Just be mindful." But no, it was a good atmosphere. The away fans today, it was absolutely brilliant. I can't remember the last time I've been to an away game, but it's been a few years now. But I just forget how great it is. It's just everybody's a bit more cheerful and whatnot. Even with the bad form, they were completely behind the team. It was absolutely brilliant. For me, the performance today was really, really good. And in the sense of, I think, look, as TJ said, Spence is going to get a lot of applause. He was brilliant. But it was something that Ange did today that we haven't been able to really do all season. But he plugged the midfield, and Basuma and Bentancur, whenever one got, missed out, the other one was there to clean it up. And I think that was so key to why Brentford didn't really get on the ball today. And it was the whole performance, and it wasn't fast paced. So it meant that some of the players could get rested and everything like that. So I was really, really surprised that it wasn't Ange ball and it was completely different. And the sense of that the players like Archie Gray today, look, everyone was saying I was a bit too critical of him beforehand, but on that right side next to Ben Davies, absolutely brilliant. But yeah, all I've got to say is it was a great performance today, and hopefully we can keep this up. Look, we've got a lot of games coming up again, and we need these injuries. These injuries just keep crawling up on us. So I'm really, really hoping. Look, it's great to be on here with a win. Like, you gave me the whole of December over Christmas period and not one win, Ricky, not one.
No, Mark,
missing out Southampton.
All my fault.
But no, all good. No, but it was good to see some of the players. You could tell the players are still there for Ange, and I think that's what's key to this. They are still there for Ange, and even the substitutions today that Ange made, you could tell were good. The criticism that I'd have today is that he left Richarlison on way too long. He just couldn't get to them final, and he put on a lot of pressure to us because he couldn't hold it and what like that. But as soon as Scarlett came on, absolutely brilliant. But yeah, great performance, good on the boys, and it was completely different to what we've seen this season, which was the good thing to see. And Brentford kind of huffed and puffed. And look, Mbeumo is a great player, and I don't think people will underestimate the job Jed Spence did on him today.
It's phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal.
It was absolutely phenomenal, and even he at the end was he was blowing, but you could tell that he knew he had an absolutely field day, and not many. Like, Mbeumo was great, and not many defenders will do that to him today. It was a great learning curve, and they missed their chances. Kingsley as well. He's had a bit of a shaky start, but he was good today as well. I thought he commanded his box and made it easier for Ben Davies and Archie Gray as well. So fair play to all of them, even Porro to a little bit.
Yeah.
He did some certain things where he kind of got me off my seat. I was like, what are you doing? But
I got to say, Mars, what you've said there, I think it's so spot on. I think, a day where I think in the past I've been fairly critical of maybe the team for not showing their leadership and guidance. And whilst I think you've got to give a huge amount of credit to Ange for the way we approach that game tactically, and I will give credit where credit's due, I think the players also found their way on the pitch and found their way into the game and really managed that ever so well. Imagine can only do so much when the players cross the touchline. We've on so many occasions, but I think we make that point. It's our first Premier League win coming over you ads in 49 days. It's a big 3 points and the perfect way to start an absolute crunch week for the football club. I make that point again. These little things go missing now. The fact that it's 4 clean sheets in 8 now. You've got 11 players out there absolutely knackered and fighting. The away fans, which Miles touched upon in real full voice. I think as we can come away from that game, and I know you've said it a lot on the show as well, that sometimes in these away games where they can be quite tricky, difficult places to go, like Brentford, where we haven't won before this game, isn't it lovely to come away with 3 points? And it was a really well-managed performance, Ads.
Yeah, I think I feel like I'm on delay again, by the way. I feel it's come back, Ricky, but we'll see how we go. So
we'll see how we go.
We'll see how we go.
That's my fault for jinxing it.
Like the weird thing was, I think the weirdest thing was I was thinking about like our best performances of the season, and there haven't been a lot. But I think I could think of 3, including today, and we've kept clean sheets in all of them, which I think is quite weird. The Liverpool game, City away, all of those clean sheets. And everyone always goes on about attacking football. But the reality is to play well and to win comfortably, you need to defend well and you need to be defensively solid. And we were today. And I think it sort of gets Adam's coming from 1982's internet. It feels like that.
I can see you. I can see you clear on here, Ad. You carry on. I can see you clear on here. We'll let you do a refresh maybe after this. We'll let you come back in, but go for it. You're fine.
I think like Ben Davies he gets overlooked. Like he came in again today at centre back, and I think I tweeted after the game. I reckon Ben Davies this season at centre back has kept more clean sheets than anybody else. Like obviously Spence was great, Archie Gray's great, but Davies comes in at times, and he has done this season, and he's been like seamless in coming into that centre back position. He's done a great job. I thought we dug in today. It was a real dogged defend. They weren't. I didn't think they were particularly good. They flung a lot of balls in the box. I do think, like the commentators early, sort of were giving Kingsky a bit of stick, and I don't think he deserved it. Actually, I think he was commanding his box quite well, and I definitely think when he plays, the defence is more confident and comfortable there because I think they know that he's going to come for the ball and stuff like that. And I also think Bentancur playing for me. I think he starts in your midfield. I just think he brings a calmness and a control on the ball that when he's not there, you sort of don't have. And then you can play somebody else about him. But I think, I said this before to you, and I think one of the other guys just mentioned it just now. For me, whether you're Ange in or out and whatever you think of him, and I've been critical of him and so on, I believe the reason he's still the manager is because the players are absolutely still playing for him. We've had bad performances. We've been poor in games, but that's not the players' downing tools, I don't believe, from what I've seen. And you saw that again today. They're absolutely with him. They're just maybe knackered and sort of like massive on injuries and at times tactically poor.
I think it's really important you make those points, Ads, because I sat here with you, TJ, a couple of weeks ago after, I think you might not have been on TJ, obviously when Ad was on after the Everton game. And I said, Ange is finished. I didn't see a way forward, Tej. And the thing is, look, since then, obviously we had the Leicester game, which wasn't great. And obviously we've got that win in Europe. And we followed that up, obviously, with a win here. I think for many out there, they've already made their mind up as to whether they are in or out right now. But I think what you can't get away from is that whether it's by tactical, which I think it was the way Ange set up the team for today. I think when you look at the fact that the way the players apply themselves on the field, where I'm in total agreement with Adam there, Tej, bringing you in, is that you can't argue the fact that these players are seemingly right now playing for the manager, despite the biggest injury crisis that we find ourselves in. That's not me sitting here saying that it was acceptable before the game we're in 16th in the league, because it simply isn't. And I've made that very, very clear. And I've made my reasons for it being very, very clear. But quite interestingly, Jamie Carragher said before the game that if Spurs concede less than 3, I'll be surprised. I think a lot of Tottenham fans going into the Brentford game, I think all of us, again, logical fans that have seen this team week in, week out, certainly over the last couple of months, and by the fact that it's taken 49 days since December the 15th to win a football game, I think many were really concerned about going into this one. So how much credit do you give the team and Ange Postecoglou for the way we actually deployed our tactical setup and saw it through? Because you've got to say, look, when credit's due, Ange deserves some props. Is that fair, Teach?
More than fair. More than fair. And let's not do another kind of big old song and dance about injuries. Yeah. We all know it, right? So he's playing with an incredibly laboured hand. and he's doing the best that he can. But the bigger point here, Rick, let's talk about your first point, is that, and Adam mentioned it as well, there's no way that these players aren't playing for this man, like really giving it everything. And I think that I've said this before as well. No one knows what's going on behind the scenes at a football club. All this kind of in the know and sources close to the club and all that kind of thing. 99% of that is absolute nonsense, right? And so, but body language and emotional outbursts and expression from players kind of really illustrates an awful lot. And I think that with Ange, if we look at managers like Conte and Mourinho, I actually said before about Mourinho, is that Mourinho's too famous. He's so famous as a football coach. He's probably still the most famous football coach in the world. And so much of his ego is tied into everything that he does. Every soundbite he knows will go viral. Everything that he says on camera, he knows will go viral. And so I don't see him forming the kind of relationship with these young men that somebody like Ange would. It's Ange's first time in the Premier League as well. And it's so many of these young boys' first time in the Premier League. So he can really relate. Being able to kind of empathize with somebody is one thing, but being able to relate to it and go, I've been there, I'm in the same position as you. That's something actually I hadn't considered until earlier today when I saw Porro, like really just releasing an enormous sort of swell of emotion. That Ange is probably saying to these boys, guys, I'm in exactly the same position that you are. It's my first time in the Premier League. I'm doing my absolute best. I promise I will stick with you if you stick with me. And I can see it paying dividends, man. So I was really proud of him today, really relieved and happy for him today, as I was those players, dead on their feet and giving it absolutely everything. To Marlon's point, which I thought was really succinct, we had a couple of walls of defence, which was very important today. Not just in the midfield, but also, in the back. They'd take a shot and it would go past one and it would hit the second in the line. And yeah, man, just magnificent, dogged, gritty performance. I was delighted.
Well, let's touch on that, actually, if we can. Coming back round to you, Miles, you were there in the away end. I think Jed Spence right now is getting so much love from the Spurs fans, and you'd argue rightly so. I think he's been absolutely formidable, really, since he's come into the team. I think many were kind of confused as to why he didn't get his chance earlier. And it's quite fascinating. On the day, Tottenham obviously have announced the signing of Danso, this of course, Kevin Danso from Lens. They produced an outstanding defensive display with especially centre-half in the side in Davies, which obviously Ads touched upon a minute ago. But when you consider the fact that I think Spence, to do the job Jed Spence did in that game, to keep Mbeumo so quiet for so long and was barely a threat going forward. He cleared that overhead kick off the line. 60 seconds later, Sarr makes it 2-0. You're talking about crucial interceptions in games, dare I say, Miles, was that Jed's best game so far in a Spurs shirt? Because he was an absolute huge contributor there to a massive 3 points at the club for a critical time. And you won't forget, Miles, as well, how big that commentary goal was to get us set up really now for what is a semi-final against Liverpool. We go into that second leg. He's played some big parts in this season, and he's just a shining example of somebody that's got their head down and worked so hard, Miles.
Yeah, no, look, it's the one blot on Ange that I couldn't look at the end of the day. When you look at the beginning of the season, we saw the friendlies and everyone was raving about how good Jed Spence was in this system. It wasn't more about him as a player. It was just more about how he fitted into it. And he seemed to play it better than Udogie and Porro at the time. And then he got, he didn't go out on loan. Ange said, no, he's going to get minutes. He's going to get this. And then we just didn't see him until that Coventry game. Now, that Coventry game, I thought he played really well when he came on. It's probably out today and that game, they're probably the two best versions of Jed that we've seen, because he probably did save Ange's job that night. And that was very key, because we were literally going in one direction. But as for today, as soon as we kicked off, anything that came down that side, Jed was stopping it. It was, I don't know if it was having Ben Davies next to him as well that made him feel more comfortable with Archie Gray in the middle. And I think Adam was right. When you got someone like Ben Davies who's been there, he's a pro, he does this, it feeds onto other players. And you could blatantly see he felt comfortable with the person he had next to him, which meant that he, going forward, when he was getting into that inverted wing-back role, he felt comfortable that if it did go past him, there was a Basuma or a Benson Cole to clean it up. There was a Ben Davies covering him. Sonny was even doing the backtracking for him, and this was the bits I think I would have missed if I wasn't there. And that's why it was quite good to actually see it in the flesh what was going on. But yeah, look, at the end of the day, it's not the first time that Jed Spence has kept a top quality player quiet. He kept Salah quiet as well, so he can do it. He's a very good player. It's just for me now is whether is he better on the right or is he better on the left? And I think that's going to be the key questions at the moment, because I believe that Ange answered an interview question today, and I haven't seen it. I've just seen people going about it that once Destiny's back, that's still Destiny's position, kind of dismissing Jed's performance overall, what he's been doing over the last month. But for me, if Ange can't see it, Jed is wonderful in this system, and he can play better than Porro and Doggy. It's just trying to find out whether he's better on the right or in the left certain games. And I think that's going to be the key question, because look, there obviously was something in the whole Jed attitude thing. We can't sit there and say there wasn't. This is, how many managers has he had? And then Steve Cooper was the one that really got the best out of him. And now we've been left to a point where Ange is a bit desperate to play him. Ange can see it now that actually, if he's playing and he's playing regular, we can get the best out of him, and it's just good to see. And I was one of those at the beginning of the season when Spence was coming in. I was really behind Spence. I really did get behind him, but I just wasn't sure whether Ange was fully committed into getting him out there. But that today, I'm sorry, if that's not starting in front of you, Doggy and Porro at the moment, then I don't know what else can convince Ange right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can't argue the fact that Spence really, since the moment he's come into the team, has been quite simply phenomenal in terms of the consistency of his displays. And you've said it there, I think, Miles, so eloquently, the way he's kept the likes of Salah quiet and Buemo quiet, in general, really, there's very few occasions where you could arguably say he's been at fault for many goals. I mean, as we're going to try and come back round to, bless you, you're battling technical issues for us. We really do appreciate it. And, we mentioned this point about Spence, how good he's been. As to bring you in, what have you made of the way we say the Spence redemption process and project, what he's been working on? How impressed have you been by him? And when we do get your wife to settle down, we'll get you to eventually rotate your camera so we can see your landscape. Overall, what you made of his display?
I think he's been. Oh, hello. Right, here you go. I'm on my phone. This better?
We've got you.
I think this is okay,
mate.
Right?
We should be settling down.
I think what I've been most impressed about is I think when we signed him originally, everyone was talking about the fact that he's like a great attacking fullback, but actually defensively he's been brilliant. Which I think everyone thought, right, he's just bombing on, but actually defensively he's been he's been excellent. And I think Ange got a bit of stick from a few people today for like bombing Spence out, but I know, and I'm fairly certain that I know that it was a club decision to do that, and it wasn't really to do with the manager. And there were like lots of issues off the field with Spence that needed to be sorted out, and it was sort of much bigger than football. But he's obviously come back and sort of sorted himself out. I think he changed agents, got moved to a new agency, and he seems to have sorted himself out. But my preference would be, personally, I would like to see him play at right back, because I think he's been brilliant. But sort of quite often, when he does attack, obviously he cuts back in a lot. I'd like to see him actually flying down that right, and actually like probably go past a fullback or put a full first time crossing. Let's hope he stays fit.
Yeah, I think that's really, really crucial. And again, I will make that point you said in your opening intro ads, though, the likes of Ben Davies around him. Ben, everything about Ben, he seems to attract a lot of criticism because he's been here for 10, 11 years. I think the one thing you can't fault about Ben Davies is that his professionalism, whenever he's in the field for us, can't be argued with the fact that, again, very rarely at fault, apart from maybe not having blistering pace, which you could argue has never really been his forte. But when you're looking at the fact that we've got the likes of, again, at the moment, Mickey van der Ven still out, Romero, Radu Dragic all missing. You've got also, I've got to say, Archie Gray. I mean, Archie Gray, for what he's given as well. I mean, Ange, I would have said on Spence. Ange did wax absolutely lyrical on Jed Spence before I bring in where we are of Archie Gray and Ange's thoughts on Archie Gray, because, again, he had a phenomenal game for Tottenham. Ange actually said on the performance of Spence, he's been outstanding since he's come into the team. He's had to bide his time. It's fair to say with Jed that he had to be patient and maybe a bit mature in his patience of waiting. But again, he's looked fantastic since he's come into the team. I think we missed him the last couple of weeks. He's one of the defenders that just loves the challenge of taking on the elite. There's some outstanding players that he's had to face up against. And Buemo's right up there, especially. And you just saw how much he kept him quiet. Like I said, there's a reason why we kept Mickey on ice now and Jed was back in. And he's going to help us enormously. So please get him back into the team. He'll be so important for us until we get Destiny back. He'll be an important player for us during this period. Archie Gray as well. I think we've got to talk about Archie for a second, Tej. I mean, look, you've been waxing Liverpool. We'll become to Liverpool shortly as well. But you've been waxing lyrical about Archie Gray really since his introduction to the team. Look, he's played every position bar the one arguably he might want to play, Archie Gray. As I said, you can never lose sight of the fact that he's never played in the position that we're deploying him for as a centre-back. I just think he's been fantastic. I'm so pleased at the football club. He's a fantastic kid as well. He just wants to learn. No task is too much. Whatever position he ends up playing, he's going to be outstanding. He's just got that attitude of wanting to improve, wanting to get better. He sets the benchmark so high. There aren't many 18-year-olds you could just throw into the Premier League, play out a position in such an important area, and he handles it so well. I'm sure you'll echo those thoughts, TJ, the manager, that Archie Gray, I mean, this kid is going to be an absolute superstar, isn't he?
Yes, he is. What a fantastic acquisition. And again, just enormous credit to him, to Ange, to the coaching staff, to his family, and to the players around him. I think to Adam's point and to Marlon's point, and to yours as well, Rick, talking about Ben Davies, what is it with Ben Davies? Because yes, I don't think he's much maligned. I think that's perhaps a step too far. I think it is fair to say that he hasn't perhaps received the credit that he is so worthy of. But you know what, man? Not on this show. Been doing this show for ages, and we've done so many Ben Davies appreciation shows. And I think what it is, not only just his resolve and his professionalism and his absence of ego, which I think is absolutely fundamental in the team. You've got to have those honest Tommies that if you say, okay, you're the first over the top, they say, yes, boss. And he is that. And that's really, really important. I just was thinking about it while the lads were talking. And I think what it perhaps is with him that Van der Ven and Romero don't offer the others is that Ben Davies isn't a star player. He's not a player that everyone goes, oh, he's amazing, he's amazing. So I think psychologically to players around him, to Spence and to Porro and to Gray and to Udogie and whomever it may be, if you're playing alongside Ben Davies, he's going to give you everything, but he's just not as good as Romero or Van der Ven. So you can't kind of take your foot off the gas, if that makes sense. No disrespect to him at all, but I think the fact that he's just not quite as good as those other two allows the others to shine. And so I think who would have thought he's absolutely fundamental to this Tottenham team and has been for a few seasons. Absolutely fundamental. I mean, who would we replace him?
I think, you look at someone like Davies, and again, people might not like comparisons, but, look at Azpilicueta for Chelsea. He was just a player that when Azpilicueta was in his decent form of Chelsea, you could just rely on him to do a job for a number of years. And I think Ben has been one of those players that, what I love about Ben, doesn't grumble, doesn't moan about maybe lack of playing time when he's not got it. He just will give everything when he plays. And again, I appreciate people might think, it's a damn indictment of maybe the football club where we are, that 10, 11 years on, we're still talking about Ben Davies in a Tottenham shirt. But the reality is that you can't ask anything more from a...
Happy to have him in a Tottenham shirt. Yeah, and how much would he be on? Not that much, So, and again, I think that the point of him improving the other players is massive. If players are coaches and players are looking for 1-2%. And so if he gives you that, happy days. And as far as Gray goes, my goodness, what is his limit?
Yeah. Well, I mean, limitless, isn't he? Limitless at this stage. It's so exciting.
I mean, listen, let him stay healthy, and then we'll see. But phenomenal talent, man. Really exciting. A lot of these young kids, very, very exciting, man.
Yeah, I do agree on that point. It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, you'd argue that win does maybe ease the pressure on Ange Postecoglou and with regards to where we are in his future. And I think, again, all you can ask is the teams are giving 100%. Like Ads came on to the fact that I don't think you can argue that the players are playing for him. And maybe there is now kind of that renewed belief in the side. We've got that huge Carabao Cup semi-final decider against Liverpool on Thursday. You've got then the Aston Villa game. Whatever you say, he adapted, he changed his tactics, and we got a crucial win. And I think what I would say to Ange is we need to see more of that throughout the season and beyond, because what he has shown And again, to be fair to Ange, I think this is a lazy narrative that's been thrown around. Ange Postecoglou has changed his tactics, has changed formations, has changed systems during his time at Tottenham. The reality is that sometimes we just haven't seen the results. We saw it at Everton where you could see that was maybe put together very, very fast in a matter of a few hours or a matter of a day or so, because, you know, it just feels at the moment, every time we get a player back, we go and lose a couple, which must be so hard as a manager to deal with. And actually, Ange was asked that question in his presser that, you know, how different was it from the fact that it was back to the wall, low block at the end? What happened to Ange? Was it just a period that you're having to really be pragmatic? He said, look, how do I say this without repeating myself and not sound like an excuse? It's very difficult for a group of players to play Thursday and Sunday and maintain energy and levels. What they're doing is giving their absolute maximum. And the maximum effort in a game like that means you can't be sharp and real dynamic. You've got to be good with the ball, good without the ball. But the fact of the matter is these guys are just good human beings. People, they might want to dismiss that and want to talk about excuses. But the reality is, I know the reality. These guys are giving absolutely everything. We knew it was not going to be an easy game. We knew we could go out there. It was going to be hard to go out there and dominate because Brentford had a week to prepare. We had 50-something hours with the same group of players. I think with that context, the performance was outstanding. And I think, again, you have to give credit to Ange Postecoglou. And again, I will make this point that I've been one of the first to be critical of the players when it comes to maybe not showing enough leadership, guidance, direction on that field. And I think, again, Miles, you made the point. I mean, I think, and you being there as well, would you say the players were also finding their way in terms of that leadership? And, you know, really on the field, it just felt like there was a lot more control from the players that I think they realised we've got to win here. We've got to get a win and ruin and stop this Premier League form that we've been on. Do you get that vibe that Miles in the stadium as well, that the players out there just pulled together and gave everything?
No, they did, and you could sense that. I think the two, well, we've already mentioned one that was bringing it all together, but the other two was Basuma and Bentancur. The way they set up and the way they were in the middle, and it was like they knew where each other was going to be. And when we were out of possession, and I think this was what was key, when we were out of possession, they made sure that they were the first wall before it got to that defence. And as you saw with the second goal against Leicester last week, we were just missing that man in midfield where when it got past Bentancur, he was trying to do two men. It was like we've seen a lot of goals like that this season where it's just been the man in the middle and he's been able to get the shot off. But I felt like that basically what Ange had said was, you two stay there, let Kulusevski do all the work up top, and then because Mikey Moore was like, we haven't even mentioned Mikey Moore in his first half. Like he just, for him, I just want him to run at players. He just needs to bring that confidence out. Like we don't care what you do. He doesn't have to think about the occasion. Just go out and be you, because whenever he's been him, especially in certain games this season, he's always better in the second half. He's been brilliant, but I don't know if he's finding it tough on that right-hand side at the moment. But I don't know if it's because of Richarlison in the first half was better than he was in the second. So it was kind of like all over the place. But Sonny's hit a mess for me at the moment. Sonny's was in parts of the game good, but in parts of the game he didn't really step up. But this is where I do agree with you, because the game was managed in such a way they were able to play their football and not get overawed by what was happening. Because in that second half, there was about a 10-15 minute spell where Brentford were completely on us. And it's just because every time we kept putting it up top, Richarlison was even knackered. It would just, he needs more game time. He couldn't hold it. So it just meant the pressure was coming back on us. And that's where I think he needed a little bit more of Sonny, because look, Sonny set up for the first goal, he got the corner, set it up, and then he's also set up the second. But that's the brilliance of Sonny. When he's kind of not stepping up in that sense, he kind of still manages to get the assist. And that sometimes is what the problem is. But Jed, again, going back to Jed Spence, and that was the big key thing in away games this season. I think, when we have been good defensively, you've kind of seen that, going forward and being able to manage again, we have managed it so much better. But look, I've got no qualms about what happened today. I think, at the end of the day, I was quite nervous going in there because, as Jamie Carragher said, I did think it was going to be 2 or 3 that we were going to concede. But Kingsky, Gray, Porro, Spence, as I thought, I was like, okay. I saw how the first 10 minutes was going. I was like, actually, this is looking good. And a lot of Spurs fans probably sat there in the first 10 minutes going, this is not Ange Ball. Where's Ange Ball? Where's Ange Ball? it didn't need to be Ange today.
You've got to
And
adapt.
I think
Yeah,
he's got to adapt. And this is the issue that we've had all along. Ange doesn't adapt, but we saw it today. And has it just taken the players being tired and playing Thursday night to Sunday for him to even go, you know what, the Premier League's difficult, and sometimes you just have to take these games, and sometimes you just need to get wins under your belt, and that's what they've given him today. They've literally just given him a win.
Yeah, I would say in the defence of Ange, I think he has tried to adapt on a number of occasions during his 18, 19 months here. The problem is that when he has adapted and we haven't got the result, I think many fans then forget that he's tried to adapt and it hasn't worked. I think, when you're looking at the fact that in this game here, there's been an adaptation and we've got the result, I think that's why he'll get the praise. But I don't think you can get away from the fact, look, he adapted against Everton, it didn't quite work. So it's an interesting one. Look, we're going to squeeze in our first break of the show for our listeners and audio. We have got nearly over 10,000 of you that are watching the show live. As always, thank you so much for all your incredible support for Last Word on Spurs. We really, really do appreciate it. I'm joined by the wonderful TJ Ramini. I'm joined by Marlon, fresh from the G-Tech. I'm joined by the wonderful Adam Osper on this edition of Last Word on Spurs. A reminder for those out there, and we'll try and give Adam towards this in his next edition of Last Word on Spurs. We'll throw him over NordVPN when we next get ads on, bless his heart. We are delighted to be sponsored by NordVPN. They have been our partners for the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years. They allow you, of course, to watch your favourite sporting events, TV shows, films which aren't available in your region by switching your virtual locating settings. We'll get there eventually. You can also, of course, protect your private data like bank details, passwords, and online identity from falling into the wrong hands of those demons out there. You can check them out by nordvpn.com/LWOS. Right. On this show, just to be very, very clear, we're going to dive into the game itself. We're going to tell you where we are in the final 24, 48 hours of this transfer window. We know Tottenham have got one over the line in the last 24 hours in Kevin Danso, who was signed, sealed, and delivered. He was watching the game earlier, and he was pretty happy to do so. He's delighted to be here. Can you believe it? Third time is a charm. We've got one over the line. We have indeed. And it will be interesting to the next 24 hours as we understand Spurs are trying to find a forward out there. Tottenham are trying to find a forward. They are indeed. So just bear that in mind. We are looking and seeking a forward in these next 24, 48 hours. So let's see what they do bring us. Let's see what they bring us. I'll remind everybody out there, if you can, guys, keep liking and subscribing to the show. It allows us to share this out to a wide range Tottenham audience. If you can do that for us, we'd be eternally grateful. And just to finish up on what Ange did actually say after the game, Ange acknowledged the fact that it's a tough place to go and get results, but said, look, just regardless of irrespective of how you want to set up tactically, I thought the lads handled it awfully well. It was going to be key for us to nullify their threats. The lads were brilliant, and I still felt they had the quality of our football to hurt them. And our second goal was outstanding, and we always had a threat. So credit to the boys. We know our league position is nowhere near where we want it to be. It's disappointing, but the players are giving everything. And Ange did comment in regards to Kevin Danso saying how pleased he was to get him over the line. He said, we desperately need a defender, but getting him in is great. He's a great fit for us. He's had a strong career, but at his age now, he really wants to kick on. He's got all the attributes to do so. He's really strong one-on-one, quick, dynamic. He wants to play on the ball. And I think at this stage of his career, he's really determined to kick on now and make an impact. So that will lift the whole group. Obviously, with Radu, we'll have some more information as to where we are with him. Obviously, we understand at the moment it's not the most greatest circumstance with Radu Dragashin. There's been reports out that he could miss the remainder of the season. Let's hope that isn't the case for Tottenham, although it would be concerning the fact that Tottenham are looking to press ahead with their interest in Disasi of Chelsea. As things stand at the moment on this show, we understand Tottenham have had a loan agreement accepted by Chelsea, but at the moment Disasi is stalling on a move to Tottenham. And there's many fans out there that would quite happily allow him to stall and hope he moves elsewhere. The issue at the moment is, I believe, Villa, who are the other club in for him, Chelsea do not want to sell to a direct rival in terms of the Champions League. And all I would say out there for those that like the sound of Disasi in a Tottenham shirt is give your head a wobble as to why Chelsea, for the first time in 20, 25 years, are quite keen to get a player to Tottenham and don't see it as a threat, which again is an alarming concern. And for those that have seen Disasi in a Chelsea shirt, I think everyone will be thinking stay well clear. But yeah, let's see where that takes us. Look, Ange also commented on the fact that it was one of the most significant wins of Tottenham's seasons. And I think it's important that we bring into the fact of where we are right now in terms of the squad, because Ange said actually before the game in relation to where we are that we are again without Mickey van der Ven, although they are trying to manage his minutes, and with it being a quick turnaround, speaking to the medical staff, Mickey himself they think they're just going to keep him on ice for now, give him another week of training, and hopefully he'll be back ready for the end of the week, which will hopefully mean he will be back for Liverpool. I have to say, just for those out there that are unaware of this, it's the first time ever that Tottenham actually had the likes of Davies, Gray together, and elsewhere, really, the team did pick itself with regards to Sarr being rested on the bench, Bergvall also on his 19th birthday. But it's the first time more than a year that we've not had Van der Ven, Romero or Dragoshin at centre-back. And when you consider the fact Scarlett, Ajayi, Moore, all on the bench, a team that Tottenham put out of Kinski, Porro, Gray, David Spence, Benton, Korpasuma, Kulusevski, Moore, and then with a bench of up top, you had Richarlison, Sonny, a bench of Austin, Reguilon, Casanova, Hardy, Olasise, Sarr, Bergvall, Ajayi, Scarlett. We line up in a 4-2-1-3. I mean, does that team in itself really just try and really hammer home just how much we are really struggling now to put out a fairly competent 11, and why, again, it represents how big that result was against Brentford?
Yeah, I mean, look just going back to like Ange's comments and some of the things that the other people have been saying, I think it sometimes gets overlooked, and I mentioned it just before about the fact that I think the players are still playing for him. If you listen to his press conferences, unlike a Mourinho or a Conte, he never, ever, ever publicly criticises the players. He's so complimentary of them all the time.
Werner. 90%.
Okay, bar Werner, but that was maybe a dig. But just generally, if you look at how we've spoken over the past few months when we've been terrible, poor injuries, he's never dug them out. He's taken all the responsibility himself 90% of the time. The Everton game, which you mentioned, he took all the responsibility himself, all of the blame himself. It all sits with him. And all he does now is constantly praise the players for what they're doing. And that type of thing, I think, keeps the players on side. And I think just going back to that, it was interesting because I think it was Kulusevski's press conference before the Europa game. If you listen to what he said, he was being really honest. He was like, we know why we're here and what the situation is. It wasn't like he was, being told to go and defend the manager. He sounded genuinely honest that everyone's fully behind Ange. It was a massive win, and I think, I've been quite vocal this week about it. Before we signed the guy last night, that for me all of this stems back to the summer. We didn't properly strengthen the squad in the summer. We signed. I mean, you always put these pictures up and you put Werner on there, and all of these they don't count, right? We signed Gray, Bergvall, and Solanke.
Well, they didn't re-sign Werner. They re-signed him, man.
Yeah, I know, but he was there last season, so it's like it's not an addition. It's just because he was there last season. So in actual additions, we signed one player when we needed 3 in the team or ready to come into the team immediately, and then Bergvall and Gray were your youngsters for the future. So we were undercooked by 2 or 3 players then, I believe, from properly strengthening the squad. And therefore, this is the situation that we're in now. It's all a result of what's happened in the past. We still, need 2 more players this window. I doubt that's going to happen. If we get 1, fine. And you just need to hope that Van der Ven, Romero, the new centre-back coming in, eases that defensive worries. I think, as TJ said it, like, I want to see Gray play in midfield. I think, he's interestingly, there's 2 things I noticed about Gray. I didn't think he was great at fullback. I thought there were a couple of times where, he got rinsed. I think it was against the Man City game where Núñez absolutely turned him inside out. But at centre-back, he's been sensational and almost faultless. I think he made 1 mistake. It might have been the Everton game, but that was a 3 in the back and it probably threw him. He's been almost faultless. But I don't know if anyone else has noticed it. He's grown. He looks physically bigger now. When he first came on the first few games of the season, he looked like Brian Hill, like a tiny little boy coming on. I know we don't want to go back there and bring back bad memories, but when Hill came on, it was like, oh, someone's got their kid come on the pitch. It was a bit like that, right? And it's true, right? And
it's why we miss you, man. It's why you miss you, because you hammer these points home. Carry on.
but Gray looked like that. I thought at the beginning of the season, but he looks physically much bigger now, bigger and stronger now. And you know, I really want to see where he develops.
Yeah.
What was your question?
No, I think back to my. You've kind of answered my question there. I mean, you've mentioned it there about how much there's growth that's been in the team, and I think we're seeing that now. That with regards to the 11, I think what's interesting to bring it up is that we're all acutely aware that there's a lot of a shift in terms of the fan base. I say a shift. I think many of us have felt for a long time that with regards to the ownership, we're at a point now, in my opinion, only where there's a point of no return. Right? I think whatever we do in the next 24 hours, whether Tottenham win the next 5-10 games in a row. This is my opinion. Whether Tottenham go and win a treble, if they win 3 trophies, I've come to a point just for me now where I would like to see a change in the ownership. And I think now my concern would be that my worry is if we go and win 4, 5, 6, 7 games in a row, I don't want that to alleviate pressure on a change of ownership. And that's my worry. That my fear is that if we go and win a few games, then the noise might go away. But I think, and we'll go to Miles in a second, because Miles is in the stadium, there needs to still be a consistency and a push really for wanting change, for needing change. And I made that point last week that, as a host of Last Word of Spurs, a platform that we've got here, we will 100% be supporting the advocate for change and be helping if we can to do that. And we've had some discussions already with regards to trying to help the Change for Tottenham Foundation out there with regards to enforcing change. And I think, again, we mustn't get away from the fact that results are great, but the reality is that the people we've got in charge at the moment, in my opinion only, don't have the ambition to take the football club forward. And that's why we will just employ, look, there is going to be a scheduled protest on Sunday, the 16th of February. This will be before the Manchester United game. There'll be more details of that to come. What I don't want to see is that a few results are then going to change the mood where there's going to be a let-off. I mean, how do you feel, Ads, with regards to where we are on the ownership? Because I know you're probably the same as me, that a few results should not change the way we feel with regards to trying to enforce a change here. No,
when we came on air, I asked Marlon, didn't I? I said, like, what was it like? For me, it's like, I think take United, Man United are a good example, right? Absolutely support the team, but we're banging on to get rid of the Glazers, and that's how we need to be. There have been people that have been Levy out forever, and then there have been ones that have sort of drifted over time. And I was one of the ones that's drifted over time because we had a smaller stadium and so on. But there's no excuses now. It's the same thing. Here we are again at the end of a transfer window, sort of scrapping around, trying to get things done. In the summer, we had if you think about it, when we sacked Conte, there was a ton of pressure on Levy then. Conte gets sacked, ton of pressure. We bought players in early. It's like there's always a reaction. And that's what it feels like the last few days. Massive anti-Levy stuff. All of a sudden, he's in Bayern Munich trying to sign someone. And it's almost like it's right. I need to show that I'm doing something, and it needs to carry on. I've said this before. The easiest way to look at it is if you step away from football, if you've got any business of a certain size, and it doubles in size, you need to get in new ownership that have dealt with businesses that are double the size. Because there's so much more that needs to be done. You need CEOs, you need a board, you need a team of people that understand dealing with a much bigger business. We're still got the exact same board with the same people working in the exact same way that they've been working for the last 20 years. Look at Man City this window. It's not about money. Everyone goes, oh, Man City have got loads of money. Man City have bought 3 players on average for 40 million each. Yeah. And all of those 3 players have come from not big teams, sort of average-ish teams. So they're not on big wages, but Man City have a problem and they've gone, bang, we're going to address it early in the window, get everything done, get our players in and move on. And here we are again, a day to go, scrapping around. And the knock-on effect of a crap summer is the fact that we're 15th or we're 14th now. So therefore that Tell doesn't want to join us. If we were 5th now in a decent position, pushing for Champions League, he'd probably come. And all of it is a knock-on effect of our poor ownership and the way we make decisions and do things. It's always reactive, never proactive.
Yeah. I mean, on this point you're saying there, Ad, I think it's really key. Before I come to Miles there, I mean, TJ, you actually said it to me off air that, and I hope you don't mind me saying this, that I think we were discussing if this is going to change the mood of some fans because we've got one win. And I said to you that I hope it wouldn't. I hope there would still be an emphasis that there would still be fans out that would see the longer term picture. And again, to make my point, I said it yesterday, from my perspective, that reality is when we've been in this situation where, you know, we've had one win, it's moved up to 14th. It's still not good enough for where we need to be as a football club. You know, it just feels at the moment, as we're saying, we're going into the final 24 hours of the transfer window. We're chasing our tail, aren't we? We're chasing our tail for a forward that arguably Ange has asked for really since the start or the beginning of the window. How confident are you that that pressure still will be applied by the fans and everybody will come together to seek and want that change, despite there being that win that we've had against Brentford?
Yeah, I think we're really in an unprecedented moment with regards the Levy-ENIC ownership of this football club. When we were talking before the show started, just so the viewers and the listeners can get a bit of a bead on what we were discussing, I think we all agree. I think we've crossed the Rubicon. I don't think even if we do win these 3 cups, any Tottenham fan is going to turn around and go, okay, well, Levy and ENIC can stay, because we're now in the position where it's so clearly obvious. All the spin in the world, all the PR in the world, all the money that's spent by football clubs, by all multi-billion-dollar businesses to reflect positively, it just doesn't work anymore. It really doesn't. And so I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not saying, oh, you know, he'll sell up over the summer, but I don't think there's a single Tottenham fan left who's like, yeah, I think ENIC and Daniel Levy are the right ownership for this football club. And we've known it for years. Again, to keep harking back, but, you know, in 2019, we're in the final of the Champions League. You lose that final. So immediately, to Adam's point, any business that wants to progress and move on sits down and just go, we have literally reached the pinnacle of the promised land. And we got there and somebody else put their flag in first. How do we make sure that we come back next season and we are the people to plant our flag? And we've descended all the way down that mountain. I don't know where this mountain analogy has come from, but it's worked out quite nicely. And so that's when that investment needed to happen, and it hasn't happened. In anything, we have regressed. So win if we win, but that will be in spite of the negligent owners who are still at the helm of this football club. And I would be amazed if there are any viewers and listeners out there or Tottenham fans anywhere that would disagree, not just with me, but with us and with most of the fan base.
Yeah, I mean, Miles was on that point. Like, you was in that stadium earlier at the G-Tech. What did you feel the general mood was with regards to that? Because I hope my mummy said, I think it was from really minute one, there was a loud chance on the away end of, I don't care about Levy, he don't care about me, all I care about is Kulusevski. And I think even when Tottenham were winning, even at the end of the game at 2-0, those chants were still there. Give us a vibe of what the stadium was like being in the away end.
So yeah, like the first half of the game, there was probably more chance about Levy out, and the Kulusevski song was more being sung. But I think the pressure of the game in the second half kind of calmed it down, because we had our backs up against the wall. I think everyone was more concentrating on the gameplay than what was going on around Levy and stuff. And there was a couple of chances in the second half, and I mean literally hand-picked. And then once Sarr had scored, I think basically, as away fans, we were just so relieved that we were winning and that we were going to go and win the game in the end. So I think they kind of died down, and I can't remember if at the end if we did sing one or not. But yeah, mostly during the first half is where you probably would have heard it the most, because it was constant. And even when we was winning 1-0, it was still constant. But I just felt like in the second half, I think everything regarding the game just took over instead of the chance and everything like that. And there was less player chance as well, because you could see that Brentford were coming onto us more and more. And I think everyone was just the expectation that they were going to score. But in the end, it kind of, when Sarr did, it was a relief, and everyone was singing the songs to Brentford. I can't believe, we're beating you away, how crap must you be, and all that, and all them kind of things. Yeah. But however, I think the whole thing, let's take the bigger picture here. Michael Dawson came out and said last week, after the whole Leicester game, that it puts a lot of pressure on the players, and when he was playing and this and the other. But since that game, and since the Levy chants have been sung, it seems to have taken the pressure off the players because they've now won 2 games in a row. So it has no impact on them at this present moment. And actually, they can see that we're behind them. We just don't like what's going on over here, and we want. And as Adam was saying earlier, the key thing that I saw today and why I agree the players are behind Ange went up to. So after they done this circle at the end, Ange went up to every single player and shook their hand and basically told them well done. And you could tell by their face, and even when they were all thinking with Ange, you could tell that they were literally behind him going, yeah, you know what, we want to play for this manager. So at the end of the day, it's a catch-22 situation we find ourselves in. The guy said he needed help on the 1st January. You bought him a goalkeeper. It doesn't matter who you bring in tomorrow. You could bring in Lionel Messi. It's done. And we kind of need to, if we're going to ever take that next step, we need somebody who's good at taking risks. And I think that's what the big key thing with Levy and the board at the moment. Ever since the whole Gareth Bale transfers fiasco, they've never taken risks like that ever since. And it's kind of sometimes you do need to be risk avert in this business. Because as Adam said, Manchester City just went and spent on 3 players that they need to go plug a hole. Where now, if we don't plug holes now, we're going to be playing catch up this summer. So instead of those 3 or 4 players that we need this year, we're going to end up with 6 or 7 by the end of the next season. And we don't want to be always playing catch up in the transfer window because if we're always playing catch up, other clubs are not sitting still. They're going to be going for the win and recycling theirs. So at the end of the day, Tottenham have to make a decision. Where do they want to be? And right now, and do you know what? I've never heard, Adam's point about, this board was here when we were small and now they need to think big. That's a very good point because I've never even thought about that before. And this is the problem. They did now create this beast, but none of them seem to be able to manage what's going on. And maybe this is the key thing. They need to start, either Levy needs to change everything about the board members and everything like that, or he needs to step away and go, let someone who's handled this situation manage it better. Or maybe we just need a different voice. Because when you've got the same voice for 24 years and it becomes repetitive, people just don't listen. And we're not getting rejected. We're getting rejected by all these players because of the situation we find ourselves in as a club. A lot of them will look at the situation now and go, the club's not ambitious. They don't really go for cups. We're not even nowhere near top 4 at the moment. So why am I going there now? So we can't even hang that carrot. So it is where it is. But as long as the fans keep at it, the whole Levy out, because 2 games, won them both, so it has no, as I said, repeat earlier, no impact. Them players will still play for us.
I think what's really key, Miles, and you actually said it, is that, it doesn't appear to be affecting the team because over the course of the last week, we've had 2 back-to-back wins, and I think we've seen, Leicester aside for a second, we've won away from home, we've won at home, and those Levy chants have been very, very loud, and it's not affecting the players. And I think, again, Ange Postecoglou actually said before the game that he's kind of now come to the realisation that I think he wanted to unite the football club in all areas, and he's realised he can't do that. So I think as a manager, that can be quite tricky. He's come to that decision and realised now that the fans are where the fans are. And we can't speak for every single fan out there. All I would know is that the Spurs fans I speak to, there's no one I know in my circles that feel that the ownership need and should be given more time than the 25 years they've had. And it makes that point there so succinctly that, when a corporation grows and grows and grows, you would naturally try and deploy more specialists in an organisation for when there's a need for trying to take it to the next level. We've come to a point now where, with all due respect, that it feels for a lot of fans out there, I can't speak for everybody, that football at the moment is not the focus. And all I would say to you is up until the Danso signing, we've done more commercial deals this month than we did player deals. We did Rolling Stones, I think that was done, and Eubank and Ben. And we've just equalled that by Kinski and Danso. So look, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. That's what it feels like at the moment. I'm sure there's other things as well going on in the background. Look, Spurs are going to sign a striker tomorrow. I think, again, it feels very clear here. This won't change anybody's approach. Everybody wants, I say, a change at the football club. Again, we'll implore you, if you want to get involved for a change, there is a planned demonstration that is being currently run by Change for Tottenham. And that will be, of course, ahead of the Manchester United game, which is a big game for the football club again in the Premier League, Sunday the 16th of February. March for Change. You'll get more details on that ahead of that time. We're going to switch our attention back to the game. Like Miles said there was huge chance at the beginning from the fans for the Kulusevski, Levy song. Can I just say, the away fans, Miles, they were superb. They've got the away fans in general. I'm sure you'll say, Miles, being there. I know you're not a regular away goer, but how amazing were those away fans? They were superb. I mean, what's funny is you got 11 knackered players. I think Billy T said this. Love Billy T. 11 knackered players, away fans full invoiced, best fans in the world. The owners just don't deserve them. Fans were incredible, weren't they?
No, they were absolutely incredible, and you could tell that even a lot of them that are going every week, it doesn't matter. They will always support the team, no matter what's going on elsewhere. And it was just minute 1 to 90th minute, singing, and it was just everybody was behind the team. Everybody was behind the team, and it was just great to see how many little kids were there as well, enjoying. You know, it might have been their first time there as well. They were enjoying the atmosphere. And we brought the energy. Like, I feel like in that 10 minutes that and I'm always going to bring this up because that 10 minutes when we were up against it, I felt like we were there with the players on the pitch, just defending with them and getting them through it. And that was what was so good about it. And I've always loved Spurs away fans. They've always been my favourite when it comes to away fans out of most of the clubs. But yeah, I can't fault anybody in that away end today. They were absolutely brilliant from minute 1 to the 90th minute, and even at the end there. The only thing I'd say is you can tell there's a bit of friction between the fans and Ange at the moment, because he came over to clap us, but it wasn't he wasn't full-heartedly wanting to come over. But over the last couple of weeks, you can kind of see what's going on, especially what happened at Bournemouth. But I believe, look, as results will get better, I think the relationship will start repairing as well, and hopefully, look, they'll be there on Thursday, and hopefully they can get us through that one as well.
Yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, you're right there, Miles. In terms of the way that game panned out in the first half, Richarlison was inches away from connecting with a Kulusevski shot across the face of goal. Brentford were clearly targeting the gaps between Porro and Archie Gray early on. They kept firing balls into that left channel for Kevin Danso to chase. And to be fair, look, I think there was a point in that game where you've got to say that the two best players on the pitch were Kulusevski and Damsgaard. I think Damsgaard looks like a bit of a little Ericsson, really. The way he maneuvers himself about, the little Dane in there, really, really talented young player that obviously Brentford had got. And there was a real joy of watching both of them dribble, maybe less so Damsgaard than Kulusevski. But Spurs, eventually they found their way to an opener. I've got to say, there was a great save from Kinski there to deny Mbeumo after a through ball from Damsgaard. Can't forget that moment. But Spurs do take the lead. And you know what? We've not had a lot of luck this season, so it's nice to get a bit of luck when it comes to the way this goal came about. And as I'll come around to you, and then we'll go to TJ on it. Corner swung in, and yeah, I mean, look, it hits Janelt on the line and bounces over into the Brentford goal. And I have to be honest and say, it was a lovely corner from Son. You give him the credit for it, and the goalkeeper comes, he gets it all wrong. It's not great goalkeeping from, I think, Vitaly, who's making his first Premier League start. And I think the good news for the likes of Mikey Moore and the other kids who might play him, I think he was previously spent 2 seasons against, 2 seasons with Elfsborg. And maybe I think it showed in that ads because he couldn't quite really get to grips with that corner. And it's funny because I see a lot of people actually moaning about the way in which these corners are becoming almost like a rugby scrum now. Dare I say, it feels like there's got to be something that's got to be done about some of these corners because it's turning into a bit of an NFL play now. And it's really ugly football from corners. And is it nice just to contribute and get a goal from one?
Yeah, I mean, set pieces are massive in football, right? So, I mean, for years our corners were rubbish where Modric and Ericsson couldn't get it knee height past the first man. And actually Son's deliveries today, were a massive threat. I think you need to look at Arsenal for comparison, and you can go back and you can look at United under Fergie. The amount of big games they used to win 1-0, scoring from set pieces and stuff like that. It's massive, and if we can score from them, fine, because we don't score from corners too often. And Son's delivery was really good. I think there's another one sort of a little bit later on in the day where he put in a really, really good delivery. And he scored directly from one a few weeks ago. So clearly they've been, working on it. And, it's massive, in tight games, in tight games where there's 0-0, not much in the game, generally, big goals are decided by set pieces. And if we can score from them, great. It would be nice if we could score a few more. But I think Son taking them might help because he's got a really good whip on him. But
yep,
yeah, I don't care how the goals come.
No,
as long as they go in.
I totally agree on that, Ads. I mean, T, this is the thing, isn't it? You know, we've been, I'd say we've been fairly critical at some stages by the way in which we maybe don't capitalise enough on set pieces and we use the dark arts. And I've got to say in that game, I thought our game management was really, really good. I'd say from really the moment we went ahead, I think we used the way in breaking up the game ever so well. I know Ange gets frustrated by the way teams disrupt us. I thought actually we disrupted the game ever so well. And I think one of your men that you absolutely love, Benson Core, was one of those disruptors, wasn't he? I mean, was it quite nice, Teach, to see the roles reversed in the way we really managed that game from an aspect of control, where I've got to be honest with you and say, I didn't really feel concerned in that game Brentford were to come back because I think we managed it so well. I mean, that's the biggest compliment I can pay to Tottenham as a side, that there wasn't really, there's a few hairy moments in there. I didn't actually feel like we're going to lose the game or Brentford were going to come back because we managed it so well, Teach. Was that the most impressive thing about when we went in front? We managed it really well.
There was loads that was really impressive about today, man. You know, there really was. And so let's take Kinski for a second. So again, you know, he's a brand new player, right? I'm sure it was on the stats that you flashed up right at the beginning, Rick. But how many corners did we face today, bro?
Oh, corners. I will find the corners. I think we faced around 6 or 7.
Loads,
6 or 7,
right?
Yeah,
Loads.
Yeah,
So it wasn't that long ago when Vicario was picked between the sticks, where me and every other Tottenham fan on earth would be like thinking, Christ, it's a corner, it's a goal. And so Kinski was really domineering today. I think he's learning as well, like it's such a tricky position, goalkeeper. And especially when the boxes these days are so crowded, I think he knows he was at fault for that Vardy goal against Leicester.
Yeah.
Dude, you put your hand on that ball and he didn't.
Yeah.
And so it was a very similar one to the save that he made from Mbeumo today. And also just kind of coming out and punching it, whether one of his players is standing in his way, one of their players is standing in the... He's just like, I'm coming to punch that, and I don't care who's standing in front of me. They're going to get clattered.
Thank you. I know it's on your point, Teach. Miles tells us we faced 10 corners. Thank you, Miles, for that little...
how many was it, Miles?
10.
10. Bro, 10. That's 10?
Yeah, I said 6, 10.
That's high. 10. So there's 10, 10 corners, which back in the day, that's what... How many goals is that? 3, 4? In 10 corners? So, that's massive. Now, to this resolute nature, again, that Marlon was talking about earlier, we had, several lines of defense, not just in the midfield, but also in the back line. I thought Benton Kerr was excellent today. Bissouma made a bunch of great interceptions and tackles today. However, for whatever reason, man, he is dwelling on the ball for too long. Like where Benton Kerr was so effective today is that he was also making interceptions and tackles. But as soon as he's won that ball, he's either passing it on or he's dribbling it past that man that he's just taken it from and then passing it on. Bissouma's still getting caught in possession in really vulnerable positions. Remember when he got caught in possession in the middle of the park against Arsenal? He got caught in possession again in the middle of the park today. And I think it was Wissa who nicked it off him, who God knows how he missed with that tap in. It was like 3 or 4 yards out. He put it over the top, but whatever. Yeah. So I'm pleased for Bissouma. Like I said, I've wanted to love him, man. I've really wanted to love. He's the kind of player that I do love. He just needs to sharpen up a little bit, man. I think it's decision making with him just a little bit faster, bro, and he'll be there. But him and Benton Kerr, to Marlon's point, swapped out beautifully today. They worked really hard off the ball, which was massive.
Totally agree. I mean, there was that point after we scored that the Spurs fans, as you, Miles, I'm sure, were part of them, saying, how shit must you be? We're winning away. I mean, it kind of sums up our league form, really, away from home. And, again, I've got to say, Richarlison, I know, you had a bit of a chat on in WhatsApp off air about maybe the things he doesn't do great. I think, he put himself on the line, really, with a brilliant shift, throwing himself into tackles at one point, he took a full ball right in the head, which he got from immediately, I've got to say, which I was surprised about. I mean, I was a little bit surprised as well. There was what I felt quite a blatant push on Mikey Moore. Some would say he needs to be more physical and beef up a little bit. But, like I say, that first half really was a fantastic save in there to prevent Norgard from scoring. And a Bissouma shot as well in that first half. But I think, the biggest comment I can play going into half time is that we looked really organised, we fought well, and those corners from Son were quite special, as TJ's alluded to. And Richarlison was helping out a lot defensively. I think, again, can't get away from the fact. I think Richarlison, similar to Kane, and maybe I'm doing, Richarlison over the top service here. how much does it help when you've got the likes of a Kane, a Solanke helping you from set pieces? I think Richarlison, whatever you say about him, he's a bit of a warrior and a fighter out there. Again, for how much he misses of games, Richarlison, one thing you can guarantee him, he's a bit of a shithousery on the pitches, and he'll give you his everything. Spurs, they swapped at half-time, a change. We saw Lucas Bergvall enter the fray for Mikey Moore. And to be fair, a good end to a move led to a shot where Bergvall just fired wide of the right-hand post. To be fair, Michael Coyote come on for his Brentford debut, straight away launched a throw into the box. You thought he might fit quite nicely in the Brentford side. Tottenham then from their end made the decision to bring Sarr onto the field, in which also led to, at that point, Richarlison going off and Dane Scarlett coming on. Richie again working hard, but I think as you alluded to this point, really wiped out the second half in terms of just fitness, isn't he, Ads? I mean, on Richarlison, could you ask for more from him, Ad, in that display? Do you just think with more minutes we will get him back up to fitness? So is this again why you think Tottenham in these last 24 hours are chasing a forward, because we do need help in that area? And Solanke being out, you argue we're going to need a target man for Liverpool on Thursday.
But look, when we were WhatsApping, during the game, you said to me that Richarlison had scored 8 and 8, and you said that was last season. I was like, was that last season? Was it? Yeah. And I was like, I don't ever remember Richarlison playing 8 games in a row. And I think if you take out the fact that he did play, I remember that run actually. If you take out he scored 8 games or he scored in 8 games, I don't reckon he's played at another time more than 4 games in a row. So, talking about him getting up to full fitness, I've got no confidence that in the next 2 or 3 games, if he plays, that he won't get injured somehow. I just want to go back to one thing you said about sort of being solid and defensive, because I meant to make the point earlier, but I forgot maybe because I was rambling about something else. But I'm sure it was maybe up until the Everton point we had the best away defence in the league, which was quite interesting. And then I'm sure up until a couple of weeks ago, maybe in and around the Arsenal game, we'd also conceded the least amount of corners out of anyone in the league as well. So where Ange gets some criticism around stuff, there's some really interesting stats there. And I think it wasn't too long ago that we were the league's top goal scorers as well, which is all so weird. Those 3 stats are so weird when you think we're 14th. They're like the weirdest stats that just don't marry up to anything. Going back to Richarlison, I tweeted earlier on, I said it makes me want to cry watching Richarlison's hold-up play and thinking back to when we had Harry Kane. His hold-up play frustrates me. The fact that whenever he shoots, he's falling over and slipping, and he's doing that when he's not playing or not. The one thing you get from him, and I won't knock him from that, and you did mention it, he absolutely puts a shift in. He gives 110%. He does run himself into the ground. I think he's a much better player when he comes off the bench for sort of 20 minutes. I think he can cause more problems. I also think he's the type of player that needs to play 5, 6, 7 games in a row to get up to fitness. He hasn't played virtually all season, so he's going to be miles off it anyway. So, they do need, and I don't really think he's a target man either. He's not like a Solanke that you can play the ball up to hold. So, we do need somebody. I'd be amazed if we get anybody in of any quality. But I suppose you're going to need him to go again on Thursday. Wrap him in cotton.
You are indeed. Yeah. I mean,
maybe I suppose the upside is he hates Liverpool. He played at Everton, so maybe that would give him a little bit of a boost. For Thursday night.
That might be the way to go, and that might be the way to go. Like I say, he did work incredibly hard. He came off. Sarr wrapped the game up for Tottenham for our second goal of the game and put it really beyond. Brentford, and it was a really, really lovely teamwork goal actually from Tottenham, where it lovely starts actually from, if you go back to the move, Son poking it into the midfielder's path. He poked it through the goalkeeper's legs and into the net for 2-0 Tottenham. A really, really good move that sums up and finishes the game for Tottenham and makes it home and housed. And I think it's fair to say, Miles, at that point we could get excited. Tottenham winning the game and Sarr taking the goal so well. And I suppose with Sarr, I think the disappointment that I've seen is that I saw really good initial points with Sarr last season where I thought we're getting the player that I think he's going to be so exciting for this football club. It's been a real stop-start season for him, hasn't it? Where we haven't quite seen the best of Sarr. will we see the best of Sarr, Miles? Is it just a case of getting him fit and consistent? Because I think, to be fair, I think he came back also from a international tournament, I think in the summer, to start the season. We haven't really seen the Sarr that I think we have seen at points last season. Will we actually see the Sarr that we all want to see in time?
Probably not this season. I think with Sarr, it's a case of he's like you said, it was going to be after such a great season last year. Was he going to live up to the heights this year? And he's had tournaments and whatnot. I think what we're learning from Sarr this year, this is his learning season. I think next year will be the season we will know what Sarr we're going to get going forward. Because when he came on, I'll be totally honest, I was worried when he came on because of I think he was injured last week and he played anyway. But whenever he's next to Bentancur or Bissouma, he's the one that goes missing because he's more attacking than what Bissouma and Sarr are. So Bissouma and Bentancur, so he leaves the gaps. However, his energy when he came on and what he'd done when he got on the ball today was so instrumental in this goal, and his run was second to none. And I can't fault him for his performance once he got on the pitch. And I thought he linked up very well with Dane Scarlett. The both of them kind of knew where each other was going to be. But the only thing is, I don't think people noticed this, but half of us missed this second goal because the sun was in our eyes in the away end. So you might see a delay because we didn't even see it go in the net. And everyone was like, did it go in? And like, we kind of had to go from the people at the back because they didn't have the sun in their eyes. However, with Sarr, yeah, I can't complain much about him at the moment. I think at the end of the day, we're relying on him, Bentancur and Bissouma a lot this year. And if you think about, he's not the only one. Bentancur's been inconsistent, and I know he's been injured and whatnot. And Bissouma's been inconsistent. So the whole midfield area has just been exactly that. They've been up and down. One game they'd be great, one game they're terrible. And I think because them three are so integral and have to do the most amount of running when we look at it, I think all three of them are just struggling with the amount of games and the lack of rotation that we were seeing at the beginning of the season. Whereas now it's kind of, now we've got all three of them in, he is trying to use them all in like quite wisely because he knows if one of them gets injured, we are screwed. So look, he's a good player. He's got so much potential, and I think next season, because he's had to learn a lot this year, and I mean a lot with this team, we will probably see so much more of him next year than we will this year. But no, he's a good player, and he's got a good future ahead of him. Him and Gray, could be our linchpins next year.
Totally agree. And I think credit, like you said, Dane Scarlett, a busy display at the end for him. He kept the defence very occupied in the game itself. And I think, look, overall, I've said it in the show so far, I think it was a real good team display that shows they're currently fighting through difficult times where we know they need support. Look, so Tottenham win. It means for Spurs, they move up to dizzying heights of 14th in the Premier League. I said to intro this show that we are staying up. That was the chant from Miles and the away fans that we are staying up. So I think hopefully we can start looking up rather than down. What that means for Tottenham is that now we are at this present moment in time. What are we? We are 7-8 points off. Are we more than that? Off the relegation zone? Yeah, about 7-8 points off the relegation. I'm just looking. Wolves have got 19 points. Oh, sorry, I'm cutting the table down. My apologies. Leicester City on 7. Leicester City are on 17 points. Tottenham are on 27. We're 10 points clear of the relegation zone at the moment. I said to my missus before we started the show, dear, I think I never call her dear, by the way. Not that I'm insulting her. I said to her, I think you can be safely sure we can try and book something away for the latter part of August rather than the earlier part. We're not going to start the championship season a week early. We should be okay to get away for the first week of August. I won't need to worry about the likes of, dare I say, Sheffield United away, although Sheffield United might come up. So, yeah, hopefully we can move on from that. We're going to, let us say, go for our next break of the show for our listeners' audio. We've got over 13,000 of you that are watching the show live. Thanks so much, as always, for incredible support for the last one on Spurs. I'm joined by a sharper Adam Osper, who is, I tell you what, we're battling injuries on the Spurs front. He's battling Wi-Fi like he's never done before, but we love him for it. One of our Adam Osper's back. Sports Finance, one of our own. We love him very much. I tell you what, the dad can get ads on here, and we've got the Wi-Fi sorted. Spurs are going to win this play league, I tell you. We love him very much. Ads, thank you. We're joined by Actor TJ Ramini. Oh, look at him. Wherever TJ is in the States, he's sharp as a button. And he just molding back into the beautiful sofa he's got there. And it's kind of like, got to say, some kind of designer, beautiful place in that pad it always is. And we're joined by the wonderful Marlon at the Spurs Kings, who changes beds or changes rooms like I'm changing nappies at the moment, poor Miles. That's what 4 kids does to you. And that's why TJ's on a sunbed and he's relaxing. And he tells me one day I'll get there. So I hope he's bloody right. I really do. Let's bring you up to date where Spurs are in terms of the transfer window. Spurs have got one over the line, I've got to say. And that is of the name of Kevin Danso, who Spurs hijacked from Wolves. That's right. They've confirmed the signing of the RC Lens centre-back on loan for the rest of the season. However, he will then join in a permanent deal via an obligation to buy. Danso does become the 3rd January window addition for Spurs after goalkeeper Anton Kinski and Jan Min-hyuk. He will provide crucial reinforcement to Spurs' centre-back options and also defensively, given our spate of injuries. It looked like at one moment he was going to go to Wolves. Spurs stepped in at the last moment and ensured he was going to be a Tottenham player. He has made over 100 League appearances and was briefly at Southampton, where he played 14 times for Lens this season in all competition. He's a regular for his country as well. He started off at Reading and MK Dons in England, which I believe obviously may make him a homegrown option as well. He has currently been vacated or given the number 4 shirt at Tottenham. He revealed it's a dream come true to be coming to Tottenham after a couple of days where we've had the likes of Tell reject us, Tomori, who's communicated no. He says, it's amazing to be at the football club. I always wanted to play for a big Premier League team, and Tottenham Hotspur is exactly that. I think as soon as you hear Tottenham Hotspur is interested, I think the only thing you can say is yes, it's an amazing project. I am happy to be here. He was asked to describe himself. He says, I'm quick. I'm a powerful centre-back. I'm good on the ball, good at defending, 1v1 situations. That's what I thrive on. I love to defend. I grew up playing academy football over here. And when you grow up, everyone watches the Premier League. And like I said, it's a dream come true. Opportunities to win trophies, I think, is what every kid dreams of. To be winning trophies at a club like Tottenham, I hope we can win a couple of trophies this season. Now, where we are with regards to his registration, he obviously wasn't able to feature in the Brentford game. It came too soon. But keep a close eye on, I believe, the Liverpool game. I think Spurs are fairly confident they'll get his work permit in time for there. Ads, we'll come over to you to get your thoughts on Danso being a Tottenham player. I think the general consensus is out there that, I mean, it's been a mad trolley dash shot. And it's funny because every time I switch the picture, Ad looks either better or worse. He's come back better. Ad, give me your... It's amazing. Look how fresh he's looking. Ad, thoughts on Danso? Are you happy with his sign? And we'll get you to unmute from your end and give us your thoughts on him.
Yeah, look, at this stage, the fact that we've got no centre-backs, anyone
it's a human being, right?
Yeah, it's a body. Yeah, exactly. It's a human being. I don't buy. I think I tweeted this last night, like, you know, this whole hijacking situation. I'm not quite sure I fully buy that, because he was announced, you know, this morning pretty early, which meant he would have had a medical and stuff yesterday. You'd assume that they'd been talking for him for a little while. My guess is that probably they had 2 or 3 players that they were basically speaking to, and they'd probably agreed terms with. And maybe, you know, the main one that they wanted was, you know, maybe the guy at Milan, and he said no. So then they've just said, right, we're going to like press on with it.
Yep.
Yeah, Tomori. So, but you know, I've not seen anything apart from him smash Højbjerg, which got a lot of sort of tweets. He looks big, strong, powerful. For me, the most important thing is Van der Ven's probably back. So it you know, I think if you've got anybody who's a natural centre back next to him, I think that's a massive plus, right? And I think that bolsters the defence massively, because Van der Ven's absolutely huge. And if you've got somebody else who's a big, strong boy at centre back next to him, then I think you'd assume that that's going to make us a bit stronger. But I still think, you know, realistically, you know, like you say, we need another striker or attacker. You know, and another defender would be ideal.
Absolutely. I mean, come on to him in a second, I will, in terms of the striker situation. T's bringing you in, just on him in general. He's, when you look at per 90 minutes last season in Ligue 1, which are going to go into a different league to go off, but he's first in terms of possession and adjusted interceptions. He's first in terms of his dribble success rate. He's second in aerial duels. He's second in interceptions. He's second in offensive duels. I mean, I think the general vibe is that despite the mad, chaotic nature of the last 24, 48 hours, where they've gone to Tomori, and Tomori has reportedly communicated back that Tottenham is not really where he sees him playing at. He wants to play maybe, again, remaining in Italy. It may not even be a thing about Tottenham. He wants to stay in Italy. The fact that it's made it very clear Tottenham have been searching for the centre-back really over the course of the summer. They've had Tell say no to them. Have maybe Spurs end up with quite a good option here. He's a player that has had Champions League experience. He's a player that is, in a very decent league, Is it a case of waiting and seeing, Tej? Am I going too over the top? I mean, is it hard to go too overboard when you've just not seen him? What do you reckon?
I mean, listen, it's only natural, Rick. We're going to theorize and pontificate and ruminate. That's what all football fans do, and obviously that's what this show is as well, is also all about. If new players are coming into the club, we want to try to assess how we think they're going to perform, where they're going to slot in. I agree with what Adam said. I just like having a nice physical presence back there. Talking about having him alongside Van de Ven. I don't know how reliable Van de Ven is going to be fitness-wise. You know what I mean? And again, you don't need the most concise of crystal balls to be able to kind of come to such a deduction. I'm not sure if he's going to be the kind of player that you ever have fit for a full season. And so I think that it's vital that we bring in somebody like Danso. And again, when Adam's saying I'd like to see him alongside Van de Ven, I'd like to see him alongside Ben Davies for the points that I was making before. Like Ben Davies he's so stalwart and consistent. And also something that I didn't mention about Davies before, he's really aggressive. He's really, really aggressive. I think because he's such a sweet looking lad. And also he's a very soft-spoken, very articulate chap. And I think as well, not being funny, the musicality of the Welsh accent, the fact that he has this wonderfully sort of lyrical Welsh accent kind of makes him seem very gentle and kind. He's very, very aggressive.
He spoke well after the game, Tej. Actually, for our listeners and audio, they're going to hear it. He spoke ever so well, actually, for our listeners and audio after the game. And you just go back to the point I asked you, Tej. The thing is, at the moment, we understand they are resting Mickey Van de Ven with you that he will be back on Thursday night, and obviously,
I feel that's going to be the subtitle of his career. I hope I'm wrong, but he just seems to be one of those players. So the fact that we've got somebody else in who again is quick and powerful, technical, is going to be a technical player coming out of the French league. So fantastic, and also not to. Some people were kind of sending me some comments on X and stuff about like why it took Spence so long to come in. We should be asking questions and all that kind of thing. And I understand that, gang, but not today, right? Let's just really enjoy a fantastic victory at a ground where we've never won. Celebrate Spence getting man of the match, which he so deserved, and celebrate for all of us that we've just gone and won a Premier League game for the first time in 49 days. The only thing that I would say is I think we looked a damn sight better without Draggers in the team.
It's interesting you say that. Yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, look, when we're looking at him in general here, obviously Kevin Danso, it's interesting in terms of the fact that Spurs are in this situation now where you probably think they're going to throw Danso in on Thursday with Mickey Van de Ven, by the fact they seem very, very keen to try and get this work permit over the line. That's obviously a friend of the show, Alistair Gold, suggesting that. And obviously we know it's a big crunch week for the football club. They've, of course, got Liverpool. Then they've got Villa, which you feel is really going to define maybe Ange's future, the way the fans feel about the season. It's a massive, massive week with two massive, massive games for the football club. I mean, Miles, just to bring you in on him, look, he's a fairly confident guy. You talk about a guy here that's had Champions League experience. He's featured in Euro 2024. The strengths for him are heading, long balls, aerial duels. He's had over progressive passes per 90. He's in the top 5 leagues. He's one of the highest in there. I mean, do you think in a way, Miles, that we may have got ourselves a bit of a gem here, but again, maybe one that we don't want to get too carried away from? Got to see him play, because I know there's some suggestions that he has missed a lot of games as well.
The only thing I just want to see him play games. I don't want him to get injured at this present moment, because that seems to be the thing that's really, really hitting us at the moment. But a couple things is, I'm a bit concerned about that he has failed 2 medicals in the last one earlier this month at Juve and one last last
Jason made
season
this
at Roma.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's weird that he's. I know, and with their heart conditions, I know the Italians are a bit more thorough because the whole thing with Ericsson couldn't play in Serie A because he had a pace. Yeah, he had the heart thing but Ericsson could play here. So it'd be interesting to see what he passed on these medical grounds. However, look, we need bodies, we need defenders, and we're still being linked with defenders now. So the big thing for me now is, does this mean that it's the end of Romero in the summer? And this is why we're trying to get these deals done now. So we've got backup and we're being a bit more forward thinking, which Spurs being forward thinking, I can't see it. But the fact that we're still linked with Diasi considering. So we'll have Van der Ven and Danso. Say another defender comes in. So it does look like that Romero's number days could be. I think he could be heading out this summer. I think that's how I'm looking at it. So look, if they get these deals done now and they get defenders in, good on it. But yeah, look, I'm not going to sit there and say I've seen him play very much. I do remember the game he played against when he broke Mbappe's nose. I do remember it, but I don't remember singling him out going he was that great.
Right, that's good enough to get him in.
Yeah, get him in. But yeah, look, we'll see. Look, Ange needs bodies. He needs, we need people on that pitch, and it's defensive cover. And look, he's played. Look, the good thing is that everyone's failed to mention he's played in the Premier League before with Southampton. So it's not like he has to kind of adjust. He's played that season, where he's been able to. So it's kind of like he's been here before. So let's see how it goes. I'm not going to sit there and criticize or anything right now. It's a body that we need. It's a defender. Let's see what the next steps are.
Yeah, just on those defenders, I'll come back round to ads. Sorry, you pulled the short straw here. I've got to bring in the fact that we understand as things stand at present. We're waiting on further news on this, but Tottenham have agreed a loan deal with Chelsea for Disasi. Now, this comes on the back of the news that Spurs, as you mentioned earlier, they were looking to get Fikayo Tomori over the line. But our understanding is that he's communicating to Tottenham that he doesn't want to join the football club. And for him, Champions League qualification or playing in the Champions League is quite a likely factor as to why he doesn't feel Spurs is the right move for him. So Spurs are turning their attention to another Chelsea player. Or this one is a current Chelsea player as things stands. It's, I think, really fascinating. I said this actually earlier in the show that Tottenham have reached a full agreement with Chelsea to sign a player. When does that really happen? Unless, what benefit would there be of Chelsea giving Spurs a player? Where I've got to be able to say, this is just my opinion. Every time I've watched Disasi play, he's made a fuck up. He looks. I've not seen one positive game from Disasi in a Chelsea shirt. I just feel they're selling us this player or giving us this player on loan. I think that is the biggest red flag that Chelsea are willing to actually give a player to us in the last 20, 25 years. I know they had the change in ownership with Bowley, and we go back to Gallagher in the summer match. They mess us around over him. Are we going to do this, Ads? Can you see this happening with Disasi? We need to get you off mute if you can. Let's get you off mute, Ad, if you can. Give me your thoughts on whether you can see Disasi being a Tottenham player by the end of this window.
I mean, look, the whole. I mean, Spurs and Chelsea never traded over years, right? And I'm fairly certain, you're right. They wouldn't trade their best players. To be honest, I've not seen enough of him. And you're saying he's made loads of mistakes. I mean, my concern.
I have to say, I sort of keep going on about this. I've not seen a player as bad as what I've seen him be. And I'll be honest, outside of Tottenham, I don't watch a lot of football.
So my worry there is why are we remotely in for him unless it's just pure desperation? Because if you've got Danso and you've got Van der Ven back and you've got Davies who can play there and you've got Gray who can step in, it's like is there Ricky swearing again? I think it's the first time I haven't heard you swear on air.
I can't understand any upside of this move for us. I don't understand the benefit. Apart from it's going to cost us a load of goals.
Yeah, but no, I mean, you'd like to think that we've looked at him and thought, okay, maybe we'll bring him in. Unless they've literally just brought him in and think, right, let's just lob him on the bench and sit him there. But Villa are in for him as well, apparently. I
must say one crucial thing: he at the moment is rejecting a move to Tottenham. He's rejecting a move to Tottenham because we're not playing Champions League football. So that guy's lucky to play any kind of European football. I'll be honest, honestly, I'm not one to go in on players in terms of a character or a profile. I have not seen anybody as bad as him as a footballer that would when I saw that
Look.
flash up, and I thought if you link me with anybody, if you link me with any defender, right, I can try and find some logic. I cannot find any logic in Disasi coming to Tottenham because he's absolutely awful. And I would hope by the fact that he's rejected us is the end of it. But I've got a horrible feeling with Johan Langer at the wheel. I think we're gonna. I really hope I'm wrong. I really hope we're not gonna go for him. I really hope we're not. Axel Disaster, I've got to say, is one of the comments coming through here. I won't say what Jason said. Jason said desperate.
I don't know.
An Axel Disaster, but I'll tell you.
I don't know what you. I can't comment on anything here because you've absolutely just completely slated the guy.
Character assassinated
absolutely
him.
Useless. So like I don't know what you want me to say because I can't make a case for him now. You've told me he's absolutely appalling, so I'm going with you, mate. Let's not sign him. I absolutely don't want him. I don't know what to say.
Well, I mean, does it say a lot then, Ads, on this point that it must show how concerned we are about Dragashin's injury that we want to bring another defender in? I think that's what I would be concerned about. The fact that we've already got Danso here and we're pushing for another defender. And I mean, it's all due respect. I don't really all due respect. I've already character assassinated the bloke, but as bad as he is now, the Sassy, the fact that we wanted him, I think that kind of sums up. We are desperate for another defender.
Yeah, and it might just be that there aren't that many players around that you can get out on loan, and he is somebody. And he's
someone's just in it. I'm Axel Foley.
Ricky's gone again. It's one of these times again.
Axel Foley.
As long as you don't fall off sideways.
I try not.
I don't know. Like you say, maybe it's literally right. Like, let's get this guy in, sit him on the bench, barely use him, but him be a complete body that we need if all else fails. Because if he's as bad as you're saying, I don't know. It doesn't. I can't
believe we've got. I've got to say, I can't believe we've got Axel's agent in here. It must be Axel's agent there. You talking on the bollocks? It must be Axel's agent. That's the only thing I've seen defending him. I really listen. If I've got to say, if he becomes a Tottenham player, I'll support him. Try to, but I can't see the logic in this. I mean, just very quickly, before I ask TJ and Miles on this point, your opinion in the next 24 hours, can you see the club bringing a forward in?
I reckon some random will happen. Something random will happen, and I'm sure there'll be crap. Because that will be a classic Levy deadline day move, won't it? Sorry, it will be. We're not going to get anybody of real quality in tomorrow. Sorry, as much as I'd love us to.
I remember me saying this, you've been on the show many times, as someone that works in and around the agents game in football and, again, as personally managed players, do you feel that when you're going into these final 24 hours, is it like the reduced style in Tesco's? Are you just picking up really what's been left and that meaning really?
Yeah.
Will there be any bargains, do you think, in these 24 hours or not really?
I mean, people always hark back to like the Van de Ven thing as if like something popping out of thin air. That rarely happens.
Van der Vaart, I know you said Van de Ven. I know you meant Van der Vaart.
Van der Vaart. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, like so much stuff is public now. It's very, very rare that something just pops out. I'd be amazed. It might be like a random loan of somebody, but it's not going to be, it's not going to be anyone of any quality right on deadline day in January because no one's going to sell their main striker, are they? Who's going to sell their main striker on deadline day? It'll be somebody that's trying to ship off their books or a youngster from somewhere that isn't playing much. It'll be that they're the only types of players you're going to get now.
But I just think that's such a failure on Ange Postecoglou that has called out for a forward before the window, during the window, and here we are on deadline day going into it where Spurs are looking for a forward. Ads, just very quickly to finish off this point, what are Spurs going to do on deadline day? What do you think they'll do? They've got Danso in. What else is he going to do?
There'll be somebody else on loan. If my gut feels from what Ange just said, it'll be a defender.
Right. Okay. No forward.
Well, I don't know. I reckon they might have just gone all in on Tell, and now there's nothing. I don't know. Two would be ideal. Striker and defender. My gut feel would be one player, probably a defender.
Okay. T, just come to you if you don't mind. It feels like it's a very pivotal 24 hours in terms of trying to get Ange Postecoglou the help that he's called out for, really, since, we've got to be honest with you, since the window began and before that. He made it very, very clear he needs help. He said a few days ago, Tottenham are playing with fire. Spurs have brought in, just to be clear, Danso. He becomes Spurs' of course, second signing of the January window, our first outfield player of this January transfer window. What can you see Spurs doing in these final 24 hours of the transfer window, if anything, to try and support the manager and give him the best opportunity of Spurs progressing in the Cups and getting back up that league table?
I don't see us getting a forward in, Rick. I just don't. They're so rare.
You mean the quality? You just don't think we can get a forward in that's going to be good enough quality, or generally you just don't?
A forward that Tottenham Hotspur Football Club would be looking at. So yeah, quality. We're still Tottenham Hotspur, and I know we're 14th, but obviously you love to hear Danso saying when a club like Tottenham Hotspur says they're interested, you say yes. It's lovely to hear them say things like that, but also let us remind ourselves. We're a Big Six club. Tottenham Hotspur, known all over the world. We haven't been performing as we should have been performing, and we've underperformed for a couple of decades now. But yeah, if we're going to even profess or pretend to be an ambitious football club, then the kind of forward that we want to be bringing in is the kind of forward that's going to help alleviate the issues that we have with Solanke being injured. Richie really tried hard today and put himself about, and like you said, he is an MBA of the dark arts, and he's a very frustrating player to play against. But he's just never gonna be a 20 goals a season striker. He just isn't. So I just don't see us bring. People are saying Delap ? I love that.
There's no way Ipswich are going to let him go, are they? Not in a season where
I
they
don't think who's saying it. Cantab is saying that.
There's no way I can see that.
I just don't see that happening, mate. Whoever Cantab is. I'd love that. I think he's a terrific, young, exciting, explosive number 9. Number 9s, they're so rare now, man. Number 9 is a kind of precarious position. Like a lot of people would argue, do they really exist anymore? There's so few. Again, let's not shed too many tears about having the greatest number 9 in the world at the club. So I don't see that happening. I do think we'll bring in another defender. I don't know who that will be, but to be honest, in my heart of hearts, I think that's it. I think we're done. I don't think we will get anyone else in.
I know
let's jump in, Ricky. Sorry, just like where people are just talking about Delap and stuff like that, these deals don't happen on deadline day. No club in the world sells their main striker on deadline day. It doesn't happen.
Especially when you're in a relegation battle.
100%. Same with Cunha as well. He's just signed a new deal with Wolves. He ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
It never
people are saying Wissa. I'd love Wissa, but again, you ain't getting Wissa.
No, not now.
It's just not happening. So I don't think we'll bring in anybody else. If we do, it'll likely be another defender. But there's no way on earth that Tottenham Hotspur will be able to get in another forward, as rare as they are, up to the standard that we will require on deadline day in January. I just don't see it happening. I'm not being pessimistic. I'm a very optimistic person, but I just don't see it happening.
And how much do you think, T, just coming back to you on that point, how much do you think that is letting down Ange Postecoglou by not bringing that forward in when he's made it so clear?
2nd of February. Come on.
How can you be at a point where you've actually said publicly, we need help for Dom? You've gone publicly and said that.
So did Kulu. Kulu.
Yep. I think that is why. This is why it's so important.
See what happens.
This is why it's so important. This is why it's so important. We keep the protesting consistent. Because I have to be honest.
I don't think there's a Tottenham fan on earth that is fooled. Not like I said. In my opinion, Daniel Levy and Enid had crossed the Rubicon, and if you don't know what that reference is, look it up. That is the point of no return. That's it. So I don't think we'll get anyone else in, which is, again, yet another damning indictment of the ownership of this football club.
Yeah, I mean, Miles, to come over to you there. Bearing in mind, since you've last spoken, I've character assassinated Disasi to a point where if no one knows my thoughts on it, they probably know more after this show.
Deservedly, mate. He's rejecting us? Get out of here.
The funny thing is, though, what's quite funny on this point is that Ange Postecoglou said, I don't want anybody coming here that doesn't want to be here So if we go and sign Disasi now, what does that say? If we go back on that and bring him in, is that not
It's
completely
hot
the
air,
wrong?
dude. It's hot air.
I hope it is.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, as soon as that link came through, it absolutely infuriated me. And when you're seeing credible sources, I'm sitting there saying, Miles, this can't happen. This cannot happen. I mean, where are you, Miles, with regards to this window? 24 hours to go for our listeners. Well, it'll be less right. Today will be deadline day for our listeners on audio. What do you see happening, if anything, in these final hours of the window, Miles?
I think a lot of people have said it in the chat. You'll get a Tyler Dibbling deal for the summer being done. Where
one
he
for the
goes back on
future,
loan.
one for the future,
Yeah.
another for the future.
That'll be the one they get over the line to make sure that Southampton will get relegated, but we have first refusal, so they'll probably get that done. But on the Axel thing, he did play over 40 odd games for Poch last year. I'm going to try and bring a positive spin to this. I know he's rejected us.
Go for it. Yeah, please.
Yeah.
If you can.
Right.
Go for it.
Yeah, I'll try. I don't know if I can, right? Because I have seen him play as well. But he did play over 40 odd games for Poch last year, and it's not to say he was terrible in all of them. And he was part of a defense in that second part of the season that done really well for him. I get it that other people are looking at going, yeah, he makes mistakes, he does this, but sometimes you got to take the player out of a certain situation.
Miles? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but how do you feel the player's rejected us? If we pursue this, he's rejected
Let's see first. Like, we don't know yet. Until he officially comes out where he's gone concrete no, right? Because obviously Chelsea want to give him to us, right? But look, at the end of the day,
what does that tell you as a fan? I love you very much. What does that tell you when Chelsea want to give us a player?
I know, and I know a lot of people are looking at it like that, but I'm just looking at it going, I don't care. I don't care if they don't want to come at first, as long as they want to come and play some football. Because
what is it? What is it? What's this? A charity?
We are at the moment.
What we become? What we becoming? They want to come and play some football. What's going on with us here?
But this is where we're at. We've got Dragoshin is going to be out for the rest of the season, rumored.
Yeah,
Van der Ven can't put 2 games together in a week, and we're playing midweek Sunday.
No,
and he's asked for bodies. Danso, again, like you said earlier, we don't know if he's going to stay fit or not. So you are going to be scrambling around to make sure that we have got enough cover going for the rest of the season. And unfortunately, right now, Axel's the only one we can look at. And I'm just looking at it going, yes, I know he's not great, but he's just an extra body.
Well, I think I've only said that 15 times, haven't I?
Yeah, he's turned us down, but who knows what's going to happen in the next 24 hours. He'll be holding up the Spurs shirt, and obviously we will support him. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna trust some. Look, at the end of the day, if he comes to us, he's going to be playing a complete different system. He may suit our system. There are players that have left Chelsea who have been absolutely awful for them, and then come back and been good at another club. We just don't know how it's going to go. He might come to Spurs and might like the way Ange plays. He might be better suited than what Maresca plays. You know, it is. Look, at the end of the day, that's how things work. Not everyone is suited to the club that they
Adam's losing it.
I could see Ricky's brain thinking about.
Yeah.
I could see Ricky's brain thinking about Ange Ball, that high line, like all-out attack football thing.
But he's quick, isn't he?
This guy
Axel is quick.
into that. I could see your brain there working.
But let's take Eric Dyer and Sanchez, who just couldn't. We literally completely took them apart. One's at Bayern Munich doing a good job, and the other one was Galatasaray doing a good job. So it just depends on the club and the situation. I'm not going to sit here and say I want him, but let's just see him under Ange first before we start going, oh my God, because he just could be under Maresca. He just doesn't suit, and Poch did trust him for 40 odd games.
I really hope this is a redundant conversation come the morning and this is an audio to just focus on the first hour and a bit of this show. Just delete it. Just delete it. On this, Miles, then for you think going into deadline day, which we are in for our listeners and audio, you think it will just be a defender the club are going to target?
I don't think we'll get anybody. I just personally think it's going to be a Dibbling agreed for next season. I don't think we'll get anybody tomorrow. Like you said, these deals would have had to have been done in the last week or so, especially the way Spurs like to work last minute. For me, I think Dane Scarlett coming back and Lancashire going out, and Scarlett scoring on Thursday, I think, and obviously coming on today, I think Dane Scarlett is the one they're going to give him. So I don't think we'll see anybody else coming in. But
I'll tell you what, I've got to say, there's 15,000 of having fun in this conversation right now. If I say that for listeners on audio, we're past the watershed. We'll leave that one for the YouTube set, I think. Look, I've got to say, it's been a great show. It's lovely having a win. But again, just to kind of summarise where we are in terms of Spurs going to that final 24 hours, we understand Fikayo Tomori has communicated to Tottenham it's a no. It means Spurs are scrambling around in these final hours of the transfer window for another defender. We understand at the moment that Tottenham have reached full agreement with Chelsea for Axel Disasi on loan, but the centre-back has put brakes on the move in a dramatic twist by insisting he does not want to go to Tottenham. Aston Villa have agreed terms with Disasi, but not with Chelsea so far. So it's going to go down to deadline day to see what those respective clubs will do. Disasi has got a decision to make in terms of where he's going to want to go. Listen and let's see what happens. I think everyone's kind of given their verdict. I think we had it there. Tej doesn't think Tottenham will get a forward. It's too late. Maybe a defender is what we're hoping for. On that basis, this is a really stupid question to ask everyone before we close. Tej, give me a rating of the window out of 10. If this is what we're left with, let's get you to it might not be broadcastable for you to unmute. What is it out of 10?
2. You know, I mean, not that. And again, I don't want to disrespect Kinski and Danso with that.
Yeah,
but we just needed so much more. I think we've got in 2 good, solid players. I think Kinski has come in and done a wonderful job. He's made a couple of errors, but I think he's self-correcting as he goes, which is wonderful. He's only a young man. What is he, 21?
Yeah.
Something like that. Right. So fair play to the lad. Delighted with Danso. He looks like an absolute unit. And again, I think he's coming in with the right attitude. As you know, Rick, I love an egoless player. It's one of the reasons why I'm such a huge Dom Solanke fan.
Absolutely.
And so, mate, but it's just not enough. No. We are in a crisis. We have 8 players over the age of 18 who are fit. That's ludicrous. It's absolutely. If you were to, people saying, oh, TJ Ramini and Axel Foley in a movie. Okay. Well, if you were to write that movie and you said,
Axel Foley's killed me.
Yeah, you've got 60 players injured and you've got 8 fit. The producer would look at that and go, listen, I know that these guys are your heroes, but that's too much. Like no one would ever believe that's true, but it is true. And you go, I tell you what if we make them the highest scorers in the league? No one will believe that. We'll make them the best defense in the league. No. And then we'll chuck them in 14th. No, listen, you guys are out of your mind. The movie's cancelled. But that's where we are. So 2 out of 10.
Tej, we love you very much. And given our nature of guests right now, we've got to put Tej in Cotton Wool, get him back out on that sunbed, or get him back out to the sea and get him ready for Thursday. We love you very much.
Thank you.
You're a superstar.
And listen, all the viewers and the listeners, to Ricky's point earlier, please just take a second just to hit subscribe and like. It's free. It takes you 2 seconds. It means the world to Ricky. It means the world to the show. He works so hard to do this. A young family man who puts in so many hours, so much of his time and energy to produce a fantastic show that thousands of you enjoy. Please hit subscribe and like. Please, please, please. It takes 2 seconds and I'll love you forever. Thank you.
Tej, we love you very much too. Like I say, that's why we're always late. There you go. These kids never sleep. It's like Tottenham's transfer policy. Absolutely crazy. You never know what to predict. But always, I won't say always a letdown at the end because my kids are never a letdown. I love them very much. But in terms of the transfer window, it's always a letdown. Miles, give me your rating out. I think, give me your rating out of 10, Miles. What are we going for the rating out of 10? You don't want to say your rating out of 10. I don't blame you.
No, I'll probably give it a 4. I have to say Kinski was a good signing. Danso is okay, it's a bit late. But look, he needed players weeks ago. So I'm not going to sit there and go, it's been a great window. I can't believe we're in this situation. The best thing that's come out of this window is Levy out, to be honest. That's probably been the best thing that's come out of this.
Let me tell you something, for the time I've known you. You can believe we're in this situation.
I can, yeah. I can believe it. But yeah, the best thing to come out of this window is that the fans have come together, they've realised what the problem is, and that's where we need to start heading in that direction and start making them feel uncomfortable. Yep. So at the end of the day, no matter how we rate this window or not, that's been the best thing that's come out of it. And us fans are together now. So, like, I know we've been disappointed with players come in and whatnot, but it is what it is now. Let's move on. Come on, you Spurs, as they say.
Miles, thank you so much. Loving you very much. We had a great time over at G-Tech. We're going to see you very, very soon for more. What we're putting these people through. Ads, always a pleasure. I know we're bringing you back for crisis specials in the making at the moment, Ads, but we love you very much. And you're always on there educating us in terms of the financial side of all things Tottenham. I bet you wish I don't call you up so much about the financial side of Tottenham. I thought I'd throw him in some of the post-match games, make it a bit easier for him. What am I thinking of, Ads? Give me a rating out of 10 of this window for you.
Yeah, I'm with TJ, 2. I think, and I think just coming back to this Levy out thing, I think the reason why it's so stark now is in the past, whenever we've needed to do business or wanted to do business, it's always ended up being late. Whereas this time, we are in a crisis, 14th in the league with 400 players out injured. In November time, anyone with any bollocks with them at a decent club would have been planning, right, January's on, let's get our ducks in a row. And I think, unfortunately, we all got false hope, didn't we? Because we signed somebody on the 1st of January. We thought, oh, we got a goalkeeper, bang, they're actually got their shit in order. And then here we are, same old window, it's the same every time. We might sign one more player. Even if we sign one more player, it's still going to be a 2 out of 10, 3 out of 10 maybe. We needed more and we needed them earlier. It's just not good enough.
I do agree. I do agree. Look, it isn't good enough. And the reality is that, we need more at a time where you boys have said it. We've got a crisis in terms of the squad, and we've got 2 big games that are going to, I think, for many, reflect club. Ad, we'll see you very soon. Guys, so the 15,000 of you that are watching the show live, thank you so much for incredible support for Last Word on Spurs. We're back with you soon. Please keep safe, keep well. And as always, come on, you Spurs.